There's a feeling you've been trying to shake, like something's just off, like no matter how much you visualize, align, speak affirmations, or follow the steps, you're still met with the same stuck energy, the same delays, the same emotional fog. You wonder, what am I missing? And quietly, in the background of your inner world, there's a pulse, a low hum you rarely notice, but that quietly shapes everything you experience. It's not your thoughts, not your words, it's your frequency. More specifically, a hidden frequency shaped by unconscious fear, a subtle undercurrent of unsafety that the nervous system broadcasts like a signal tower. You might not even feel afraid, but if you're grasping, chasing, overthinking, or waiting with tension in your chest, you're already vibrating in interference, and interference fragments your coherence. It scatters your signal. It tells the quantum field, I want this, but I don't feel safe receiving it. It's not rejection. It's misalignment. Like trying to tune a radio to a station through static. You're emitting noise instead of clarity, effort instead of essence, control instead of coherence. And here's the paradox. The more you try to force a shift, the more this hidden frequency tightens its grip, because force is fear in disguise, and fear can't magnetize. Only presence can, only safety can, only embodiment can. And so, without realizing it, we manifest the very reality that mirrors our internal dissonance. Not the vision we wrote down, not the affirmation we whispered, but the feeling we most often embody. And if that feeling is tight, anxious, rushed, or fragile, the timeline bends accordingly. You don't manifest what you hope for. You manifest what your body believes is safe to hold. So let's go deeper. Because the question isn't just, what do I want? The real question is, what am I vibrating? And even deeper than that, what version of me is doing the vibrating? Is it the you who trusts the rhythm of life? Or the you who's still scanning for signs of safety outside of herself? Is it the you who walks like it's already done? Or the one who holds her breath until something finally changes? These aren't just mindset questions. They're frequency calibrators. They're the invisible forks in the road. Because your entire electromagnetic field, your heart, your brain, your breath, is constantly communicating with the quantum. And the field doesn't respond to language. It responds to signal, to coherence, to congruence. It responds when your desire and your embodiment say the same thing. When your words and your nervous system are not at war. When you stop gripping the outcome like a lifeline and start becoming the outcome like a homecoming. That's the difference, that's the key. That's the moment the hidden frequency begins to shift, not by force but by safety, not by effort but by regulation, not by fixing but by feeling. And right now, maybe part of you still wonders, but how do I feel safe when nothing's changing? And I hear you, I do, because this is the very core of the sabotage, the belief that safety must come after things shift, rather than being the energy that causes the shift. It's the invisible reversal, the trap. And the nervous system doesn't wait. It responds now, it regulates based on now. So if you're waiting for the result to regulate, you're locked in a loop of postponing the very reality you crave. The timeline can't land in a body that's bracing. Miracles don't anchor in tension. Love doesn't land where fear is leading. And the signal you're sending right now is already shaping your next moment. So we begin here, in the present, in the pulse beneath the noise, in the breath that softens the grip, in the choice to broadcast not your desperation, but your safety, not your chasing, but your knowing, not your fear, but your frequency. I remember a time I was waiting for a message, just one message. It had already been hours, then days. My chest would tighten every time I checked my phone. My mind created timelines, stories, meanings. I told myself I was manifesting it, but underneath, I was rehearsing rejection. I wasn't vibrating with love. I was vibrating with lack. And the more I tried to control the situation with energy work, with rituals, with affirmations, the heavier it got. Not because the tools were wrong, but because the frequency behind them was one of urgency. And urgency scrambles your signal. You see, the universe doesn't respond to your tools. It responds to your truth, to your tone, to the unspoken emotion behind your eyes. And in that moment, my body was saying, I don't feel safe unless this outcome happens. That was the hidden frequency. And that frequency, it becomes a repellent, because it's not magnetic, it's not coherent. It tells the field, I'm not enough yet, I'm not whole yet, I'm still waiting to be chosen. And what you're waiting for, you delay. What you grip, you repel. What you try to manage, you postpone. Not because you're doing it wrong, but because your nervous system is leading with fear and the field reflects your leader. This is where the shift begins. When you stop asking, how do I get it, and start asking, who am I being as I wait? Because waiting is not passive. It's not a void. It's a vibrational broadcast. Every moment of waiting is a message to the field. Is your message one of openness or of tightness? Of faith or of fragility? Of embodiment or of emptiness? We think the quantum works like a vending machine. Press the right button, get the thing. But it's more like a mirror. It reflects back your inner posture. It responds not to the button but to the being, and that's why so many manifestations feel blocked, not because the universe is withholding, but because we are broadcasting a signal of resistance while calling it desire. There's a softness that opens timelines, a quiet knowing, a gentle surrender. It's not dramatic, it doesn't beg, it doesn't chase, it doesn't rush. It whispers, it's already mine, I already am. That's the energy that collapses time. That's the vibration that shortens the path. Because coherence is a frequency of completion, of inner wholeness. And wholeness is magnetic. But let's be honest, wholeness can feel terrifying when we're used to seeking. When we've built our identity around striving, fixing, proving. Because if I'm already whole, who am I without the chase? If I stop gripping, what happens to my control? And this is the invitation, to feel that edge, to breathe into the part of you that's still holding on, to get curious about the part that believes struggle equals worth. Because the real manifestation doesn't begin when the thing arrives. It begins when your nervous system no longer needs the thing to feel okay. That's when you become the vibrational match. That's when timelines bend. That's when your signal clears. Not because you forced it, but because you remembered who you are beneath the noise, beneath the urgency, beneath the strategy. You are not here to perform your way into alignment. You are here to remember your way into safety. And from safety, everything shifts, not through drama, but through clarity, not through effort, but through essence. Not by chasing what you want, but by becoming the version of you who already has it, quietly, powerfully, now. Sometimes the sabotage is so subtle, we don't even notice it. It doesn't shout, it whispers. It hides inside our best intentions, inside the morning routine we over-perfect, inside the endless need to understand, heal, fix. It pretends to be spiritual, but it's really just fear dressed in white robes. Fear that says, if I don't do it right, I'll lose everything. Fear that says, I'm still not there yet. It's a frequency of grasping in disguise, and the quantum listens to frequency, not performance. It doesn't care how good you are at rituals. It listens to your nervous system. It tunes into your electromagnetic field, and if that field is buzzing with anxiety, over-efforting or proving, the field holds its breath right along with you, because breath is coherence, presence is coherence, the softening of your jaw, the unclenching of your belly, the exhale you forgot you were holding. These are not small things, they are portals, they are signal shifts, they are how the field knows. You're safe now, you're open now, you're ready to receive without needing to control what comes next. That's the hidden work, the sacred invisible work. Regulating your inner world so that your outer world doesn't have to be your source of stability. That's how you collapse timelines. You don't manifest the thing and then feel peace. You find peace now, and the thing arrives in resonance. Because the universe doesn't give you what you want. It reflects what you're a match to. And if you're a match to efforting, fixing, racing, then the field mirrors more of that pace, more of that pressure, more of that unsafety. But when you drop into being, when your spine softens and your mind rests, when you hold your frequency like it's already done, you become a lighthouse. And lighthouses don't chase ships. They stand still and shine. That's embodiment. That's magnetism. That's how timelines find you without force. And maybe right now your mind wants to say, but if I stop trying, won't I fall behind? But here's the deeper truth. Trying is the very thing pulling you out of alignment. The more you chase, the more you signal to the field that you don't already have. And that signal creates lag, delay, distance, because you've stepped out of the now and into lack. So I want to invite you to consider something radical. What if the next step isn't more action, but more anchoring? What if your greatest power isn't in doing more, but in vibrating differently? What if you stopped managing your life like a problem to solve and started magnetizing it like a field of coherence? That's not about giving up. It's about tuning in. It's about remembering that your essence is more powerful than your effort, that your regulation is more magnetic than your rushing, that your wholeness is more attractive than any performance. This isn't just energetic poetry, it's physics. Your heart emits a measurable electromagnetic field. When your thoughts and emotions are in harmony, that field becomes coherent, strong, stable, magnetic. And when your body is tense, your mind scattered, your emotions in conflict, that field weakens. Not because you're broken, but because the signal is scrambled. So we return to stillness, to softness, to the space where your energy starts to feel like home. That's not passive, that's power. That's not laziness, that's leverage. Because the quantum doesn't rush, it reflects. And when you're vibrating in peace, it moves mountains to meet you there, quietly, elegantly, exactly on time. There's a moment, a quiet, trembling moment, when you finally let go. Not out of defeat, not because you gave up, but because something deeper in you remembered. Remembered that you were never chasing something outside of you. You were chasing a feeling, a state, a frequency. And in that exhale, when the grip loosened, when your shoulders fell away from your ears, something shifted, not in the external, not yet, but in the field, in the unseen, in the quantum web that responds to your coherence. Because the field doesn't need proof, it doesn't need to see it first. It moves the moment your vibration becomes a match, and that match happens in the body, not in the mind, not in the script of I am worthy while your chest still clenches in fear, but in the actual lived safety of I am already held, I am already whole. That's the hidden frequency that's been sabotaging you all along. The belief that your safety lives in the future, that it's tied to the outcome, that it's somewhere out there waiting for you to catch up. But safety is not a destination, it's a vibration. And when you start to embody it now, without needing proof, without demanding the manifestation show up first, that's when you become a clear signal. That's when the interference dissolves. That's when your energy speaks fluently to the quantum, and it says, I am ready now. Not from desperation, but from resonance. Think about the way water responds to vibration. A gentle tone creates symmetry, harmony, beauty, but a chaotic, jagged frequency makes the pattern fall apart. Your body is water. Your life is water, and your hidden frequency, whether it's one of fear or flow, is constantly sculpting the shape of your reality. So when the pattern feels off, don't just reach for more effort. Don't just repeat the mantra. Pause, soften, ask, what am I really broadcasting right now? Is it control? Is it fear? Is it the silent belief that I'm not enough yet? That I have to do more to deserve it? That I'm not safe unless I hold it all together? Because that's the static in the signal. That's the subtle sabotage. Not the thought itself, but the feeling behind the thought. That feeling becomes a frequency. That frequency becomes a filter, and that filter determines what you can actually let in. This is why you can do all the right things and still feel blocked. Because your body hasn't caught up to your intention. Your nervous system is still scanning for danger, still bracing for disappointment, still holding onto the timeline with white-knuckled hope. And the field doesn't respond to hope. It responds to embodiment, to coherence, to the deep, quiet, unshakable knowing that it's already yours. And maybe that sounds too simple, too still, too easy. But I promise you, this is the hardest and most powerful shift of all. To no longer lead with urgency, to no longer beg your future to rescue you, to finally feel safe now, even before anything changes. That's not bypass. That's alignment. That's not giving up. That's giving in to a higher frequency, to a truer self, to a version of you who no longer negotiates her worth based on what manifests, but radiates her worth into every timeline she touches. That's the moment the sabotage stops. When you stop trying to become and start being. When your presence becomes louder than your fear. When your softness becomes stronger than your control. When your body becomes the broadcast and your life rearranges to meet you there. I want you to imagine this. You're sitting by a still lake. Not a ripple on the surface. The sky is quiet. Your body, calm. And then, just the softest breeze, a breath of intention, a pure frequency from the center of your being, moves across the water. And instantly, everything responds. That's what it's like when you're in true coherence. The field hears you, not because you're loud, but because you're clear. Not because you're trying, but because you're tuned. But most of us have been taught to thrash in the water, splashing, reaching, demanding. desperate to control the ripples instead of becoming the calm. And in that chaos, we wonder why nothing lands, why it all feels like chasing shadows. It's because the hidden frequency we emit in that state is fear, lack, noise. And the quantum field doesn't reward noise. It responds to rhythm. So what's the rhythm of your current self? The energetic tempo of your daily life? Is it pressure or presence? Scanning or softening? Is your nervous system locked in hypervigilance, always checking, always planning, always preparing for disappointment just in case? That is the frequency that quietly sabotages everything, because the field can only return what you're available for. And if your body is bracing, you're only available for more situations that match that inner tension. Even if your mind says yes, your body whispers no. Even if your mouth says I'm ready, your frequency says I'm afraid. And the field always listens to the whisper over the words. So the work, if you can call it work, is to stop overriding your own energy, to stop abandoning your own body in pursuit of a better one, to stop bargaining with the universe through tension, and instead, start listening, start softening, start asking, what would it feel like to actually be safe now? Not when it arrives, not when they text, not when the money lands, but now, before the evidence, before the proof, before the miracle. Because here's the quantum paradox. When you stop needing it, you become it. When you stop gripping it, you embody it. When you stop rehearsing the worst, you signal for the best. And this isn't theory. This is lived truth. This is the physics of vibration and the intelligence of your biology. Your heart doesn't lie. Your body can't fake coherence. It either feels safe or it doesn't, and the field responds accordingly. So, what if today you stopped trying to change your life and started changing your signal? What if you made safety your frequency, not your goal? What if you decided right here in this moment to be the version of you who no longer rushes, no longer waits, no longer chases? Because that version of you exists. She's already in the field. She's the one who walks slower but receives faster, the one who speaks less but resonates deeper, the one who no longer negotiates with life but dances with it, fluid, free, magnetic. She's not a fantasy. She's a frequency, and every time you breathe deeply, soften your belly, unclench your thoughts, and trust the unseen, you get closer. You become her. You become the stillness that bends time, the clarity that cuts through static, the truth that no longer needs to prove itself. And in that space, you remember, you were never waiting for the quantum to work. The quantum was always waiting for you to become coherent, to become congruent, to become a safe space for your own becoming. And here's what most people never realize. Your manifestations are not delayed because you're being tested. They're not stalled because you're unworthy, or because the universe is punishing you. They're paused in loving precision, because your current frequency cannot yet hold what your soul is calling in. Not sustainably, not safely, because the field is wise. It listens not just to desire, but to readiness. And readiness isn't a mindset. It's a vibration. It's what your body does when it no longer has to armor itself to receive. Think of a flower. It doesn't bloom because it forces itself open. It doesn't rush its petals. It doesn't question its worth. It simply opens when the conditions are safe, and your energy is the same. You don't expand in fear, you expand in safety, in warmth, in trust, not in the pressure to manifest faster, but in the permission to become softer. But how often do we override this truth? How often do we tell ourselves, I need to be stronger, when strength was never the issue? What we really needed was safety, a nervous system that wasn't constantly bracing, a body that no longer confused stillness with stagnation, a mind that could finally rest, not because everything was figured out, but because the frequency changed, because the energy softened, because something within whispered, it's okay to stop gripping now. And that's the moment everything shifts, when the hidden sabotage ends, when the noise of control finally gets quiet enough to hear your true signal beneath it all. That signal, it's always been there, beneath the fear, beneath the rushing, beneath the endless loops of what if and what now. It's the frequency of your wholeness, the tone of your true self, and you've felt it before, in the exhale after a cry, in the stillness after a breakthrough, in the strange, sacred pause between letting go and watching something new arrive. That moment, that's your purest frequency. That's the vibration the universe responds to, not the pretending, not the pushing, but the presence, the raw, honest, coherent presence of your being. So when life feels stuck, Don't just ask, what do I need to do? Ask, what part of me still doesn't feel safe to receive? What part of me believes I have to earn this? What part of me is still waiting to be enough? That's where the sabotage lives, in the unexamined contracts you made with fear. The ones that say, I'll relax when it arrives. I'll feel worthy when they choose me. I'll feel safe when the money comes. But those contracts can be rewritten, right now, not through force, but through feeling, through allowing, through listening to the frequency underneath the words. Because your energy is the invitation, your coherence is the confirmation, your embodiment is the bridge, and when you become the frequency of your desired life, you don't have to chase it. You simply meet it, naturally, organically, inevitably. This is not magic. This is alignment. This is what happens when your nervous system, your desire, and your belief finally sit at the same table. And you stop arguing with yourself about whether you're ready. You just are. Not in theory, but in being. And that being changes everything. There's a kind of power that comes when you no longer need to prove, when you no longer scan the room, the feed, the future for signs that you're getting closer. When you stop outsourcing your validation to signs and start trusting your own signal, that's when the field leans in. That's when reality rearranges itself, not because you twisted its arm, but because you became undeniable, because your frequency became non-negotiable. You see, the most magnetic people aren't the loudest. They're the ones who feel safest in their own skin. Their energy doesn't ask for permission. It radiates permission. Permission to rest, permission to trust, permission to stop performing and start remembering. And when you remember who you are, you stop vibrating in fragments. You become whole. And wholeness doesn't chase. But this is the unlearning, the uncomfortable, beautiful shedding of all the subtle ways you've been taught that control is safety, that micromanaging your timeline is the only way to protect your heart, that constantly checking, tweaking, striving is what creates results. It doesn't. It creates static. It creates exhaustion. It creates timelines built on tension, and tension doesn't hold miracles. It holds you hostage. So let's breathe into the space that opens when you let go of the grip. Let's feel what arises when you no longer make your manifestation the proof of your worth. What if it didn't have to prove anything? What if it was just the natural unfolding of your most regulated, radiant self? Because when you drop the proving, your power returns. When you stop leaking energy into every future possibility, you reclaim your presence. And presence is where alignment lives. It's where the field meets you. It's where the next step becomes obvious, not because you forced it, but because you felt it. Alignment doesn't mean nothing ever goes wrong. It means your frequency is stable enough not to collapse when things wobble. It means your nervous system can stay open even when your mind gets loud. It means your energy leads, not your fear. And when your energy leads, the field listens. And it delivers, not as a reward, but as a response. So can you trust the response? Can you trust that the very thing you want is already orbiting you, waiting for your signal to clear, waiting for you to stop chasing and start anchoring, waiting for you to shift from proving to presencing? Because this is not about sitting still and doing nothing. It's about doing from a different state. It's about action from embodiment, not from emptiness. Movement from clarity, not chaos. Desire from safety, not scarcity. This is where timelines collapse. Not because you hacked the matrix, but because you harmonized with it. You stopped disrupting the signal. You started transmitting truth. You became consistent in your vibration. Not perfect, just clear, just real, just safe enough to hold what you once only hoped for. And in that consistency, things begin to land. The message comes, the opportunity appears, the timing aligns, and you'll know it wasn't luck, it was coherence. It was all the quiet moments you chose alignment over anxiety, breath over bracing, frequency over fear. That's the magic, that's the physics, that's the life you were always meant to live. Not one you perform into existence, but one you vibrate into being. So now here you are, on the edge of a new kind of becoming. Not one marked by striving, but by softening. Not driven by urgency, but by inner harmony. Because you've seen it now. You've felt the hidden frequency that's been quietly running the show. The one that whispered you're not safe yet. The one that said you have to hustle to earn what you're already made of. But something inside you is different now. Not louder, just deeper, calmer, steadier. There's a new signal forming, not from what you do, but from what you've stopped doing. The releasing, the unwinding, the remembering. And it's this remembrance that changes everything. Because when you remember you're already the frequency, you stop chasing what was never separate. You stop begging for what's been encoded in your field all along. You stop looking to the future to prove you're aligned, and you begin to live like you already are. Not someday. Now. In the breath. In the pause. In the stillness between thoughts, where your truest signal lives. This is your coherence. This is your timeline shift. This is your return to the version of you who doesn't manifest through force, but through frequency, who doesn't try to earn the universe's attention, because she knows she is the universe expressing itself through form, through choice, through vibration. And now, there is nothing left to chase, nothing left to prove, just this, a body that trusts itself, a heart that leads without bracing, a field so clear the quantum can't help but respond, not later, now, not with effort, but with essence. So the next time it feels like nothing's working, don't rush to fix. Don't scramble for a sign, just get quiet enough to feel, what am I really vibrating right now? What's the texture of my frequency? Is it safe? Is it soft? Is it congruent? And if it's not, that's okay. That's the moment of power. That's the moment you shift, not by doing more, but by breathing deeper, by softening into the truth that your frequency is the architect, that your body is the instrument, that your coherence is the invitation the universe has been waiting for. You don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to control to be chosen. You don't have to beg to be blessed. You are the signal. You are the field. You are the collapse of time into presence, the unraveling of fear into frequency, the embodiment of the life you were always meant to live. Now feel that, live that, and let the rest come to you, quietly, elegantly, exactly on time.